Recently, didn't we, about this particular lady? That's right, Nigella Lawson, right? A celebrated cook, chef, whatever you want to call her, known, of course, for making cooking appear very sultry. She's a very beautiful woman, there's no two ways about it. A little bit standoffish, I have to point out, when you meet her, but maybe rightly so after the problems that she's had in her own personal life. But what's fascinating is, as we now see coming up to the festive season, it's as if, people seemingly think that if they apply certain individuals to their brand, well, then we're just going to go out and spend, regardless whether we've got any money or not. We're all suffering from a cost of living crisis. But now this particular retail giant has absolutely made a huge faux pas, many people believe. As ever, let me explain. Maureen, how are you? You all right today? Thank you so much for your time. I don't know about you, I'm never influenced by anybody who suggests anything, I like looking at the old ads, the ones, say, from the 40s, 50s and 60s, and you can see how people would have been influenced, for instance, to buy Royal Cola, which was launched by Joan Crawford or something like that, the power of the movies back then. But in today's disposable society, you think, who cares what you think? Is the price right? Is it tasty? That's the thing, isn't it? We recently, of course, have had launched over here our sort of Christmas, ads for the TV that nobody watches anymore. But, the ads that apparently are going to make us spend a lot of money. Elizabeth Hurley reclining, looking absolutely sultry and absolutely wearing some clothes for a change rather than a string bikini. Apparently she's telling us all the goodies that are in Debenhams, a store that shut down on the high street but is now online. Would that make you buy Debenhams? It's this one, though, that's attracting a lot of attention, seemingly because, of course, it's fronted by the alleged comedian Dawn French, one half of the alleged comedy duo French and Saunders. And here's the reason why. You see, there's Dawn, of course, making fun, as she tends to do, or trying to make herself jolly and all that sort of stuff. Much loved from a comedy thing like The Vicar of Dibley. That was some time back, though. What's interesting now, you see, is literally this is political, and this is the problem when you get involved in politics. Very recently, Dawn was urging people to vote for this particular government. Vote Labour for change. Well, they did, and now they've got no winter fuel allowance. And what's even more interesting is truly this. You see, because of the recent tax rises in last week's budget by the current Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, now the big stores like Marks and Spencer's, the one fronted by Dawn, who urge people to vote for the government, are claiming they're going to have to put their food prices up to cover all of the national insurance and the rises for staff. You see how this works now. Now, of course, Dawn picked up a six-figure sum to appear in this particular festive treat. One might suggest, of course, that Dawn might want to donate an element of that fee to maybe some of the less fortunate and more needy, maybe winter fuel allowance fund or something like that. Who knows? But whichever way you look at it, Marks and Spencer's have sure dropped a clanger by putting this particular very politically fronted individual in that particular ad. Now, I've no bias against Dawn, I'm not particularly a fan of her comedy, but the bottom line is, once you put yourself out there and say, I'm doing this, how can you expect your fans, or indeed other shoppers who are struggling, to believe that you wouldn't be in this mess if you didn't urge so many people with your very powerful voice, fan base and social media? Either way, it's not going to be a warm Christmas for Marks and Spencer. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.